I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing them very well. I'm doing a little recovery the last couple of days. I've been a little bit, kind of achy, but I think it's because I was not eating great and drinking a few too many brews. And it's interesting because I've been telling myself for about a week I need to get back on my, what do you call it, on my game, and my, get on the wagon and all that stuff. But it's like the body just takes over for my brain. It's like, okay, if you're not going to make the decision, fuck you, I'm
Yeah.
doing
Oh, the body is so wise.
it. Very wise. It knows everything. Anyway, great to see you. Great to see everybody. We have a great topic tonight. We're going to be talking about why why the masculine is failing the feminine. I have that wrong. I'll fix it.
Yeah.
Tell
So,
us about that. What are your thoughts about that?
oh man, I got a lot of thoughts on this. And
Just briefly, give us an overview, and then we'll talk about it.
yeah, ultimately, I think that there's a huge gap in this country between masculine and feminine, or men and women, I think is the simple way to put it. But it's not always that simple. And I think men are very confused. I think the masculine is very confused about its role in the world. And as a result, men are failing. And I think I saw it a lot this last week. A lot of women who are very angry, very upset, very bitter. And I point the finger at men for this.
Ah, interesting. Okay, well, it's another one of these big topics, a little controversial, but it is what it is. Before we get into this, we can't post. I don't have a TikTok account. You do, so this is your link
Yep.
at Nords0114. We'll leave that up there for just a minute. If anyone wants to check this out on TikTok, you can do that. And yeah, so today is what, the 12th of November, 2024.
Happy Veterans Day to you, by the way.
And to you too.
Thank you.
Got to get my thumb right.
Yeah. 45-degree angle.
Right. I think I'm out of practice.
You're not supposed to see your thumb, Dominic. It's got to be. There you go. Yeah.
Okay.
Take you back to boot camp.
You had, yeah, you had a lot more. You had 4 more years of practice than I did. Oh, that's interesting. But I was thinking about that the other day because when I was thanking people, I would salute them. On the little not the icon but the emoji thing.
Yeah.
It was a salute, and I was thinking about that when we would just walk down the street or be on the ship. It wasn't so much on the ship, but when I was in up at Great Lakes, anytime I came up to an officer, I always saluted when I walked by.
Hmm.
And it was just like, that's right. It was remembering all the time, not about that they're a higher rank than I. It's just about the respect,
Hmm.
you know. And we don't do that in normal society.
Not very much.
No, not very much at all. So anyway, so why is the masculine failing the feminine? Go ahead, talk about it. The last
Yeah,
three.
it's juicy, and I do want to like you. I'll probably be talking mostly as men and women, or for in the context of men and women. But I want to put a strict caveat. I'm not selling short the possibility that a woman could have more masculine traits and a man could have more feminine traits. I'm not discrediting the possibility of a homosexual relationship. Um, that's not my point here. My point is, I'll say men and women only because it's a simple way to talk about it. But ultimately, it's masculine energy and feminine energy, and they're different. And
Mhm.
it plays out in the world in all different kinds of ways. And typically, masculine is going to be like, just in simple terms, it's going to be the giver, and the feminine is going to be the receiver. So you talk about like an electrical outlet. Well, the plug is the masculine, and the outlet is the feminine. And these are terms that we use when we talk about this stuff. So this is not like controversial stuff. Some of the stuff we talk about could be controversial to some people. But ultimately, some of the roles that the masculine typically plays in a relationship is they're the one providing security. They're the one providing stability. They're the ones doing a lot of the like external work to create an environment. They're creating a safe container for the feminine to exist in. And I think this is where a lot of, in my experience, and I was married for 12 and a half years in a relationship where I brought very little masculine energy to the table. And maybe I'll get into that a little bit, but I can see after that relationship, I really started cultivating masculine energy. I started to become a doer. I started to become confident in myself. I started to want to create a life externally, do things. And that's not okay. Again, I want to be really, I just want to hammer this home. When I'm talking about masculine, feminine, women, like, you have masculine energy just as a man has feminine energy. But typically one will be more in charge than the other. And at times, maybe you call in one to be more in charge than the other. So I'm already like freaking out, and my own is like going into a topic that I know could prickle a few people. But that's okay. It's okay.
It'll prickle them.
Yeah. Prickle them. That's fine. What's that?
I said I like that term, prickle.
Yeah, right. But that's where I see a lot of men failing. And so I'm reading this book right now with my girlfriend, and a lot of people might be familiar with it. Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Have you read that book?
I've read it many times.
And one of the key components in this book is they talk about how on Mars, men were very content to take care of themselves and only themselves, and be self-sufficient and self-reliant. And only on rare occasions would we ever consult a fellow Martian to say, hey, I have this problem. Can you help me out? And it's seen as a high honor to a fellow Martian if somebody comes to you and says, hey, I'm having this problem. Can you give me some advice? Whereas the Venetians, the women, were very comfortable talking about their problems. They're very social. They're very, a lot of times I can't think of the word. I'm blanking on the word. Mantra of a woman might be give first to somebody else before I give to myself.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened when these Martians saw these Venetians and the Venetians saw the Martians is the Martians decided, hey, here's somebody I want to give to other than myself. So we became very motivated. We became very like charged up for this opportunity to give to somebody else. And the Venetians said, hey, you know what? I can relax. I don't have to give all the time. I can put myself, finally, there's somebody here who wants to take care of me.
Mm-hmm.
And so that just highlights to me, I think, the giving and the receiving. And I know for me, I had to go through that process of, all right. Anybody who's read Carl Jung, I've mentioned him maybe once or twice. But I watched this video once that led to Carl Jung talking about some different things. And this is intense, but I think it's super cool. So that he talks about in these tribal communities where basically the mom and the babies, boy or girl, are inseparable until one day the men in the village come and rip the young boys, or not the older boys, I should say, maybe I think like what, 10, 12, 14 maybe, away from their mother in the middle of the night. And then they send them out into the wilderness, and they either come back a man or they don't come back at all.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Now, what is the underlying premise to all that? And I think this is fascinating. It's twofold. Number one, the boy becomes less dependent or not dependent on the mother, and the mother realizes that she doesn't have to smother the boy anymore, because it's equally painful for the mother as it is for the child. So, but what happens is these boys go out and they learn how to become men. They learn how to become self-sufficient. They learn the proper skills so that they can come back within their tribal community and contribute to the community as a man, as a protector, as a provider, as a hunter, as a whatever that village needs from the masculine side of things. And what's playing out, in my opinion, what's playing out in this country specifically, and I think a lot of places around the world, we don't do these rituals anymore, obviously. So then you get someone like me who stayed attached and codependent to my mother throughout my teens. And then ultimately what happened is I got married pretty young in my 20s. And instead of like handling that relationship with my mom, instead of learning how to become a self-sufficient man, I wanted to carry on this Peter Pan syndrome of how long can I stay a boy my whole life? Let me marry someone who will be my mother. Let me marry someone who's going to take care of me. Whenever I have something wrong with me, she's going to dote on me, and she's going to, tell me everything is okay, instead of me learning how to do that for myself or step up and take charge of it. And so then it manifests. And this is what's happening. I think a lot of men, and it's happening in society in a lot of ways. We're told that we're not okay. This whole term of toxic masculinity has emerged the past, I don't know, this has been like maybe the past 8-10 years or so. This toxic masculinity thing has emerged. And I think it also has to do with this, this idea in America that if you're like a white man in America, some people, like, that is the highest level of evil that you can be. And so people walk around with these beliefs like, oh, I'm a white man. Oh my God, I'm such a bad person. So then I end up devaluing myself because I don't want to be a toxic man. I don't want to be racist. I don't want to be all these things. So let me just like lower myself way down low, down, and cower to what everyone else is telling me about who I am. And so then I'm not like showing up with power. I'm not showing up with confidence. I'm showing up as a weak man. And then on the flip side, women are being completely empowered in this way of like, they should be breadwinners, they should be providers, they should be, I'm not saying they shouldn't, right? Everyone should have a choice to do what they want. And when like the information going out there is that strong, independent women who don't need a man is like the highest evolution of a woman. Well, and then you have this other paradigm, which is like, if you're a man exhibiting masculine traits, that's toxic. Eventually, we're going to start to see this inversion of women stepping up more into masculine roles and men stepping not even into feminine roles because they're just so confused and lost. They don't know what the hell they're doing. So they're getting addicted to drugs. They're getting addicted to television. Men are committing suicide at higher rates than women. Men are fucking lost in this world today because we don't know who we are. And it is causing major problems in the family unit and all across the country, I think. Mm-hmm. So let me stop because I've been ranting for a few minutes.
That's fine. One of the things that I think you said something about white, white, were you referring to like white privilege?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's something, I never really understood. I've had a few back and forths with people about that. And I, when I look at the big picture, I can see how they can see that. However, I've never had that experience. It's like I feel like I've always had to work for, everything that I've gotten. And where's from my experience, where's the privilege? So, not denying what they think, and I don't think it's as rampant as people think. There is some people that just because they have white skin, I think it's a very small amount. That's my opinion. Now, people can, argue that if they want to. That's my experience. That's my opinion. I grew up. You were talking about your ma. I never had that. My mom never pampered me. She made my bed when I was a kid. You know, I think probably all mothers do that. I don't know if they all do, but my mom made my bed every day till I was like, I don't know, 7 or 8, maybe 6 or 7. I don't know. And then it was my responsibility to make my bed. And I don't even know when that transition was, but it's like I just knew that I had to make my bed before I left for school or wherever I was going. So she never really pampered me. And so I didn't have anything. Same thing with my dad. I grew up in a tough love kind of a environment. And I think that was for the better. Looking back at like what you're talking about now, I think that you're right that there are men that are not taking on that role, and I also think that everybody has a choice of what they want to do, and if they want to have that, I don't know, masculine role, and they don't really want to provide that type of safety for the woman, well, I guess that's their choice. If and though and it it may not even be talked about in the relationship, and then all of a sudden when things go wrong, it probably comes up that they never really even thought about what was really happening, and then next thing you know, they're in divorce court.
Mm-hmm.
You know, well, he didn't take care of me, or she didn't do this, or whatever. I mean, I think that the roles are. I think basically what I'm saying is that the roles that I grew up in were very traditional male female roles. That's just the way that I am. I always make sure that I handle all the guy stuff. Like to me, watering plants in the house should be. it's not. It's not like it has to be the woman because I do water the plants, but I think that that's something that the woman
Well,
should do.
let me ask you this: in your home, who put the plants there?
Mostly, it was kind of both of us.
Okay.
It was both of us, but we share that role. I mean, that's a kind of a silly example, but anyway, that's my little rant.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is that there's something that works about it. And like I've been thinking, this has been running through my mind. I've been trying to think of a way to illustrate it, but ultimately there's two ways to create balance if you're on a scale, right? Like you can create balance on a scale. There we go. By if you have two of the same exact things, that'll be balanced. Or if you have two polar opposite things that are counterbalanced to one another, that will also create balance and harmony. And I think there's something really beautiful about polarity, between honoring the differences between men and women, or honoring the differences between masculine and feminine, and leaning into these differences. And I think that the messaging we get from society is that we should be the same. And I think there's a real danger to that, because then you lose that contrast. You lose that like I can cover certain areas a lot better when I'm leaning into my strengths versus my partner who can lean into certain areas with her strengths. And it's like together we can have this like dynamic. We can cover so much more than what we ever could if we were sort of the same person, both trying to be masculine, both trying to be feminine. No, like let's just honor these differences.
Mm-hmm.
And so like one of the things I'm realizing, and I think so I seen this last week, and this show is not about politics, and I don't ever intend it to be about politics. And what's clear to me is that since the election, my experience is that women are devastated. And women are angry. Women are hurt. More so. Now there's angry and hurt men too. But my experience is that it's like the women that are like, oh my God, they're so hurt right now. And they're taking that hurt and they're just like dumping it on whoever they possibly can right now because they're so angry. And now this is one thing I've come a long way in my journey and understanding the difference between the masculine and the feminine. When and this is in the, like, if again reading the book Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, this is in there. So often women just need a safe space to vent, to release emotions, to get it out, where they don't feel judged, where they don't feel like a man or the masculine is going to put on their Mr. Fix-It hat. And so a woman says something like, oh man, you know, the yard is so small. Like, I can't believe we exist and like have the yard like this. Now, a man might hear that and say, what do you mean? Like, do you know how hard I've worked for that yard? What do I need to do to get you a better yard? Like, this is ridiculous. A man will take it completely personally and then shoot it right back on his woman. And so now what you've done is you've indirectly told your woman, you're not safe to express yourself around me, because we want to fix things. We want to get things right. We want to, if there's something I can do to change it, that's like the masculine thing. Let me go fix it. Let me go change it. Let me go do something about it, because that's how I win in life, right? Well, I've realized there's a big price to pay every single time I do that. And what I'm learning how to do is just not respond, not give my input, not give my 2 cents, to simply go, oh, really? Why is it that you feel that way? Oh, okay. Wow. Do you have more to say on that? Is there anything else that's hurting you right now? Oh, really? Oh, okay. And not in a condescending way, in a way that I understand. This is what she needs right now. She needs somebody who has a thick enough skin that is safe enough for her to get all of that out, so that she can go back to, oh, okay, now I feel better. I'm going to go do my thing. I'm going to go water the plants, or, you know, I'm going to go whatever. And like, oh my gosh, I've been experimenting with that. And there's been times where I've wanted to take it personally. I've wanted to snap back, but then it's like the next day, what I receive is like, oh, thank you so much for giving me that space. I love you so much. That was so amazing. I feel so good. Now I feel like I can do all these things for you today. Mm-hmm. And all I had to do is just sit there and shut up and just like be strong and not take things personally. And I think this is where men are screwing up. We're taking things personally. We're so insecure in ourselves and who we are. We don't know who we are. So that when we hear something like that, we think it's about us. Mm-hmm. And then we're not present for our women. So then this anger continues to like build up. And now they don't know where to go with it. So then they find some politician to take it out on. And now they all find each other. And it's like this big, massive, like anger storm of people who, if they would have had, I believe, a safe space at home for somebody to help nurture them and love them, maybe we wouldn't see as much of this anger in the world today. Maybe this is a hot take, but I believe it's true.
Mm-hmm. It's rough. I mean, I know that I've talked to a lot of people actually about the results of the election, and there are some people, quite a number. I mean, excuse me, about 47%. I don't remember what it was, but they're not happy with the results, and they are angry and sad. And I can relate to that. And one of the things that I put on my social right after the election was compassion matters. And I had this funny feeling that there were not going to be some compassionate people that didn't want to listen, that they just wanted to be heard and wanted whoever they were communicating with to just shut up and listen, and then absorb all of their evidence for why this should not have been the result. And interesting thing was that no matter what they said, it's kind of like, I admit it, I can't hear it.
Yeah,
I can't hear it. But I think that it happens in relationships a lot, and I mean, certainly, I mean, I've been married 3 times. So my first 2 were, they were, I was young, and I was basically unconscious. I wasn't adding awareness to my relationships back then, even though I thought I wasn't adding that element of compassion and willingness to listen and not jump back and say nasty things. And I didn't have that, and now I do, just because I don't know, maybe I'm a little older, or maybe I learned enough where I don't have to do that anymore. And I do see it. I mean, I think that there are angry men and women, and it's not just the women, the men failing the women. I think it's also some of the women are failing the men.
yeah.
And so, like you were saying, there's like some men are more masculine and they have some femininity, and there's women that are more feminine and have some, and then there's like all kinds of mixtures in there. And I don't know how to measure all that, but we're basically in a bigger picture failing each other because I feel like we don't add the ingredient of consciousness.
Yes.
And I think that from my observation over the years, that most people don't even know that is something that they can add. Like if I was observing somebody having an upset or an argument or something like that, I said, why don't you add a little bit of consciousness? They'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Because they've never been exposed to it. They don't really understand. So.
And I think it's sorry to cut you off there. Did you have okay.
No.
I think that's such a key ingredient in all of this. And, I had to inject consciousness into myself about what is my feminine? What is my masculine? How does that play out in my life? And so, I think there might be people listening to this saying, well, yeah, but what about the men who are abusive? What about the men who, so I talked a little bit, maybe I think men are playing 2 sides here. There's the men who are sort of sucking up to the society standards. They're devaluing themselves. They're like, well, I'm a man, so I'm part of the patriarchy, so I need to lower myself down so that I don't look like I'm some oppressor. And I don't think that does anyone any service. To devalue myself only devalues myself. But I think there's men on the other side of the coin too, which have this like massive machismo and what might actually be a manifestation of real toxic masculinity. And that is that I think what happens with these men is that they don't acknowledge the feminine within themselves. And so because they don't acknowledge, they're not conscious of their own feminine energy. When feminine energy shows up in their life, which is their woman or their mother or whatever, it reflects in themselves that thing that's feminine, but they don't want to see it. So then they like attack. And so then, like, I've been in the dating scene for the past year and a half, 2 years. And it's heart-wrenching to hear how many stories of women who have been abused. And just even through my years of being involved in personal growth and hearing people's testimonies, like, it is so common for a woman to be physically, sexually, mentally, emotionally abused. And I think it's that stems from men who stuff everything down. They don't learn how to handle their emotions. They grow up in these hyper masculine, with hyper masculine role models where it's like, you can't show emotions, you can't do this, you can't do that. So then when you get, like, I'm repeating myself a little bit, but then you get an emotional woman, and women, let's face it, tend to be a little bit more emotional. They can't handle it because they can't handle their own emotions. So then it's like, don't be emotional. Bam, right? So, and that's not like healthy masculinity. So what is healthy masculinity? I think that's the driving question.
Well, before you answer that or expand on that, let me ask you. I'm going to ask you a question after I tell you this quick little story. So today, I'm sitting in my recliner, I'm thumbing through my feeds, and I see this video, and this woman walks into a shop, and she just bought some cheese, and there was something wrong with the cheese. It had hair on it or something like that. So the person behind the counter, she says, "Oh, no problem. Here's your money back," and she hands her the money. And then the look on an expression on this woman's, the customer's face, is like, she wanted to argue, So the customer's like, "Well, can we just argue for a minute?" So the woman, the guy behind the counter, she goes, she's okay, no problem. So they have this like back and forth, and then finally, when they get done, they're like, "Oh, thank you very much. I really appreciate it." I thought that was funny.
Great. I love it.
It's like some people, they just need to argue. I've met so many people like that. They just have to have the argument, and they have to have the last say. And I just think it's hilarious. My question is, so when you say feminine energy, so this part of me is like, what the hell are you talking about? What does that really mean? There's masculine energy. I can talk about that for a long time, but the feminine energy part, I'm still like, I don't have it all there. I'm not like, I don't wear dresses, and I don't, you're not talking about that, right? You're talking about what? What are you talking about?
So you're talking about specifically the feminine energy within the context of being a man?
Yeah.
Like for or as an individual?
Yeah. Mostly as a man. So
what
do I do? Do I have to like meditate and get in touch with my femininity?
That could be part of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. I think part of it is understanding emotions. Mindfulness meditation can be a beautiful way to sort of become in touch with what's going on with my body, understanding my emotions, learning how to express those emotions in a healthy way. I think these tend to be things that women tend to be better at than men. And in my experience is that when I let my emotions fester and build up and I don't express them, eventually they turn into sadness, and they turn into anger, and they can go in ways that I don't want to project it out into the world. So I think that's part of it. Yeah. Is learning how to do that. I think, like, it's a silly example, but in some ways it's true. Like, even taking a bath or taking a shower, like, that's a feminine thing in the strict definition of it, because I'm receiving a cleansing. I'm receiving something that's allowing me to sort of put my guard down, to stop, like to get away from this, like achieving, this pushing, this creating a space. Like, how can I let something nurture me? How can I let something take care of me? That is learning how to embrace my feminine energy. So learning some of that softer stuff, that if I don't deal with it, if I don't learn how to like give myself those feel goods, or learning how to express those things, then I'll find that toxic masculinity actually showing up in my life, what real toxic masculinity is. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think it does. I think what I was thinking about is that, so like I said in the beginning, the last couple of days I just haven't felt great, kind of achy and what have you. And Diane, she just automatically shifts into nurturing mode, and she handles a lot of things that I normally do for myself, and she just pulled the covers up and let me sleep and do my thing. And so instead of saying, "Oh, listen, I can do it. Don't worry about that." I think that
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of resistance there for. I think I used to have some of that resistance. Like, I was such a tough guy that I was going to do everything myself, and I didn't need somebody to take care of me. And now it's just kind of like, okay, just chill out and just let yourself be nurtured for a while, because that's what you need right now.
Exactly. That would be you exercising your feminine energy. And contrary to what many people might think, that's your wife expressing her masculine energy. Like the giving, the nurturing, the like providing the space for you. That is very much a masculine thing, even though it's a motherly instinct. But when you think about the dynamic of a mother and a child, the mother is assuming the role of the masculine with the child. They're the one providing, they're the one creating the safe space. So like since my girlfriend's moved in with me, she's been lucky enough to be sick like 2 or 3 times. Where I go in this like, oh boy, like I can't wait to give to her now. Like I go in overdrive. I'm making chicken noodle soup and I'm giving her massages, and I'm like, because like for me it gives me purpose, it gives me mission, it gives me like energy to give and to provide and to take care of, and like, and then she loves it. She gets to be nurtured and she gets to embrace that feminine. And I think, going back to what the book was saying, it's like women got to this place in their life where they're like, screw it, I'm sick of giving all the time. I want to be taken care of. I want somebody to take care of me. I want to like be able to receive. And then men, we have this like, I want to take care of her. I want to build. I keep talking about like how I want to build my kingdom with my girlfriend. It's like, that's what I want to do. And the more that I build my kingdom, it's like the safer of a space she has to express herself and like expand herself and find out who she really is in a safe container that I'm holding for her.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is like, I would encourage people to start looking into this divine masculine, divine feminine thing, because there's something really beautiful and symbiotic about it, and natural in its essence of who we are. And there's something very unnatural about me pushing myself to be more like a woman. Like once it clicked in me, and where I started to get it, that I want to be secure in my life. I want to have a home that's safe for a woman to be in. And not only that, first I had to start with me. Like I had to like get a job and make enough income where I could take care of myself and do the things that I wanted to do, and like create this safe space for myself where I'm not just paycheck to paycheck and craziness. Well, by doing that, then it's like I have this space for a woman to come into. And it wasn't until I really started learning about wow, okay, I'm really neglecting my masculine. I have neglected my masculine my whole life because my mom has been the one doing it for me. And I would say that I had a dad, well, he was a great provider, not a lot of masculine energy in the sense that he was a protector and, you know, really went out of his way to create a safe space for my mother and our family. Like he did very passively. And as I get older, I acknowledge that. I digress. Point is that it's like I see myself as, ironically, because we were talking about watering before, I see myself as a gardener in this relationship with my girlfriend. And I am nurturing her. I'm watering her. I'm like constantly giving to her. And what I'm seeing emerge is this like, and we're like 2 months into our relationship, but it's been this constant theme of the more that I give to her, the more that she's trusting, the more she puts down her wall, the more that she's like expressive of her love to me, her gentleness to me, the more that she like helps out in the home, doing things that I don't want to do, the more that she like is taking on her own passion projects for herself, because she has this like, now that she doesn't have to freak out about, oh, am I safe? Can I say these things? Can I trust him? It's like she can let all that go. And then this like beautiful, the space for this beautiful flower to emerge is blossoming. Mm-hmm. And then we all get to be a part of this beauty.
Right. It is beautiful. You know, I think about the things that I do and the things that my wife does, and I'm just wired that like to wash the car. It's not like she's never washed the car before, but mostly I wash the car. I keep make sure that it's maintained. I do all that stuff. I even change the oil. I like doing that stuff, and I even get to the point where if the floor mat in the car gets a little bit dirty, and I know she's going to be using the car the next day to go to her corporate office, I clean. I know that's kind of weird. I clean off the mat so it's nice and clean for her. You know, I mean, is that my masculine energy?
Yeah. Heck yeah, it is. Giving, serving.
It's just the stuff that I think about. You know, it has nothing to do with her. It's just like that's the way I want to be. So my traditional role that I grew up in, and I never really thought about it that much when I was growing up. My dad was very much like that. And my mom basically took care of the inside of the house. My dad basically took care of the outside of the house, except when it came to maintenance, you know, plumbing and stuff like that. He did all that kind of stuff. That's. I mean, if you guys had a leak in the faucet, would she tackle that, or would you?
That's a good question. Now she's pretty fiery, so like she has a very strong masculine energy as well. Just as I would say I have a pretty strong feminine energy. So it really depends. I think I've seen her like we had this broken towel rack in the bathroom that sat there for months before she moved in. And then like 2 days after she moved in, it was fixed. I'm like, oh God, like, what's my problem?
That's funny. 2 days after she moved in, boom.
I could have done that.
She's not going to tolerate it. She's going to be like, Greg, get in the bathroom and fix it. Fucking towel rack, okay?
No, but in that case, she was the one who fixed it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's.
Oh, so, I get it now. I get it. I missed the whole thing. Sorry.
Yeah.
I get it. So she fixed it.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, and I think we have a pretty like, we're pretty balanced, and sometimes like there's times where she's totally comfortable taking the lead with certain things, and I'm totally comfortable sitting back and letting her take the lead, which by the definition of masculine and feminine, like oftentimes the lead is the masculine. Well, it's really about balance. It's really about understanding what works. And I think that's, getting back to sort of the heart of what I think this whole podcast is about and what you were driving at earlier. It's like, how can I cultivate these things in myself? How can I become more aware of my own masculine energy, my own feminine energy? And what does that mean for me? Because when I can see it in myself and when I have a healthy balance of it in my own sense of it, then I'm not seeking it out in some unhealthy way. I think I saw it in high school, and like I was always the hopeless romantic, like in my first dates in high school, I'm holding doors for women and doing all the chivalrous things, which I still do, by the way.
I do too.
Um, but and then I would see these like asshole dudes that would just like get all the women. And I always felt like, oh man, I'm just getting glossed over by these bad boys. Well, there's something about the bad boys that really attracts women. And it's the fact that I think they feel safe. They feel like if something were to go down, like they would be there to protect them. And then but then they pick bad boys, and so then they end up getting hurt by these bad boys, and then now they're bringing hurt into other, and that goes on and on and on. But how, like, my experience is that when I understand that part of me that wants to be seen and heard when I'm angry, that wants to, be nurtured at times, that all these different things that once I learn them about myself, then I can have some understanding about how to show up in my relationships with women in my life. And doesn't even have to be my partner. Like I had my sister-in-law reach out to me, and she was really hurt over the election. And so she sent me this whole thing and was asking me all these questions. And I didn't take the bait. I simply said, look, I can see you're really hurt. I'm so sorry that you're hurting. And, this is true for a lot of people right now. And the pain you feel is very real. And I'm sorry for that. I'm not going to tell you my opinion because my experience is that it doesn't matter. Right now, I just see that you're hurt. And I want to acknowledge that, and that it's okay. And if you want and need somebody that you can continue to share these feelings with, I'm here for you. And I don't know that I would have been able to do that a year ago, 6 months ago. I would have felt this need to defend myself. I would have felt this need to, well, you're missing the point, and here's what you're missing, and explaining. And I didn't do any of that. And then she came back. She's like, thank you so much for listening. Just thank you for being there for me. And it's like this gap, this perceived gap that existed between us for a couple of days completely disappeared. Mm-hmm. Simply because I didn't need to inject myself with some wisdom or some like knowing. I just like shut the F up and listen.
Mm-hmm. Well, think about 4 years ago after the other party, won. So when Trump lost, and Biden won, I was on the other side of that fence, hurting like, what the hell happened here? These people crazy? Why would they, why would they vote for somebody that is just completely off the wall? I knew exactly what was going on. And I really feel like most of those people didn't have any compassion.
Yeah.
Most of them. And they were kind of like rubbing it in my face and, like that. And I decided, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to play that game. And that's, I think what you're saying is that you just gave her the space, like you talked about before, safe space to just listen so she could just vent a little bit. One of the things that you said earlier that went in my brain was about, you said something like lowering ourselves. I can't remember exactly what you said now.
Devaluing myself.
Yeah, devaluing ourselves because of what other people say, not specifically about us, but in general. So like, I feel like I have to, lower myself or whatever in order to not appear that way.
Yeah.
I've never done that because I think that that's fake for me. And also, it's like I don't give other people that power to whatever they say about me. It's like I always think, okay, I'm a screen. Say what you want, get it out of your system, but that's not my experience of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't give my power away like that, like to let people, um, um, in a way, control me, so that I have to, like this whole white supremacy thing. I'm like, that's not my experience. I'm not going down that road.
Yeah.
Well, I acknowledge, yeah, that happens in pockets, but some people were so insistent that it's everywhere, and I'm like,
Yeah.
it's about it everywhere. That's kind of a harsh word.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's like I had people telling me that I don't love my daughter. I had people telling me that I hate women. I had people telling me all kinds of things
Right.
that, in my experience of myself, that's not even close to true.
I know.
And so, yeah, it's like I can play the game that, and I saw this. I mean, when I was living in Seattle, this were the pocket of men that I hung out with. They were men that bought this narrative that that it's not only okay, that it's virtuous to put myself down, to call myself a racist, to call myself a misogynist, just for simply the way that I was born.
Yeah, okay. Right. How could you be just because I was born in this body?
Yeah.
Like, there's something wrong with me? I don't think so. I'm not buying that shit.
And the people that were calling me this stuff were people who I've had tear-filled conversations about love and connecting with these people in ways that they've connected with very few people in their life, I can imagine, knowing that they know my heart and who I really am, yet because they had some anger within them, for whatever reason, they thought it was okay to put it on me.
Mm-hmm. Which is really strange, because it really doesn't make any sense that just because of an election that people will put all their, not all, but some of their, like their stuff, and point their finger at me and say, you don't love your children.
Yeah.
If you loved your children, you would have never voted for that guy.
Yeah.
I'm always like, what are you talking about? Because my experience is completely flipped around. Like I posted today, and I don't want this to be political, but it's like, I don't think that it's about the blue or the red. I really don't. And I think that it's because, like, all the stuff that's going on at the bureaucratic level, where these large corporations and lobbyists basically donate so much money to the EPA, to the, all these different organizations, that they control them. And they're saying they don't like that either. But what ends up happening is that you and I, and they and us, and all these different people we're immersed in an argument about who's right. And while the deep state, if you will, or the bureaucrats, the non-elected bureaucrats, are up here watching the whole thing happen, going,
Mm-hmm.
And all the while, our food is for shit. Not all of it, but the stuff that's got all the dyes and the all that stuff in there. They don't want that either. So why aren't we really talking about the real issues instead of pointing fingers? Oops. Right.
Yeah. I agree 100%. And that's why I think right now, as men, as masculine, we have a job to do. And that is to shut the F up and listen and be strong and hold space. It's not about being pushed over. It's not about, oh yeah, you're right. I am a misogynist because I'm a man. No. We turn this trend around, this belief structure that people have about men. The way that we do it is through understanding. It's through compassion. It's through putting ourselves, our egos as men, our conquering nature, our achieving nature, our fixing nature. We put that aside. We engage our compassion and our understanding while holding a safe space for that to exist, particularly for the feminine and the women who need it right now. We tell them it's okay. I understand you're angry. And genuinely, right? Like you were saying, Dominic, like genuinely taking that opportunity to go into their hearts and their minds. Like, where was I 4 years ago? Wow. Yeah, that sucked. Okay. Well, what they're feeling, I believe, is that and then some based on some circumstances. Like, let's face it, like in a lot of ways, Trump is sort of this perfect storm of somebody who can trigger these people.
Mm-hmm.
And then what hurts me is that they take that projection of him and then think that's who I am.
That's right. That's perfect. I love that you said that because I'm not him.
That's right.
I'm not.
I voted for.
I'm me.
To me, he's a statesman. Like whatever. Like, does he say? What we're getting in too much into politics, but my point is simply that we can train that perception through compassion, through holding a space for the emotions as big and strong as they are, to have the courage to not take it personally, and just love our women, love our feminine counterparts, give them all the space they need to hurt right now. And if we can do that without reacting, without going crazy, without feeling like we have to explain ourselves or justify anything we did, now it's like they can just get it all out and realize, hey, you know what? Maybe there is a safe space. Maybe all that stuff that I thought isn't true. Maybe 70 million Americans aren't racist. Maybe 70 million Americans aren't misogynist. Maybe 70 million Americans aren't out to destroy America like we've been told for the last 8 years. But the only way we're going to do that, in my opinion, is by embodying and being conscious to an empathy, having empathy for that, and then having my own self-awareness to not get pulled into it, to just hold a space. Hey, it's okay right where you're at. If I were you, I would feel that way. Okay, and I'm here for you. Need me. That's it.
Hang on a second. You're breaking up.
We can do so much heat.
Can you hear me? You're breaking up. It's going to a blue screen. I lost you. Log back in real quick, and we'll finish this up. I'm gonna take you out, and then I want you to log back in. Okay, go ahead, real quick. Greg will be back in just a second. Excuse me, I lost him. Signal, bad signal. Log back in. Boom. I don't know why he would lose his internet signal, but it seems like he did. There we go. He's asking to join. Boom. No, I don't have you, man. I don't have any video. 3, 2, 1. Okay, hang on. Here we go. No. I've got a blue screen. I have no idea what's happening. It just started to blink and fracture, and then next thing you know, you were gone on and blue screen. So let me go over here to Messenger and take a look. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
I can. Now I can. Where are you? Are you there? Oh, there you go. Now I see you, but you're still kind of
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're fractured.
Okay. Unfortunately, this is one of the challenges of my deck, but I'll have this remedied next week. 100%.
Okay. Well, I think it was
I'm
great
in the basement.
conversation.
I'm not getting my good Wi-Fi.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that was great conversation.
back?
I think that again.
I'm here.
Okay, I didn't hear what you just said. You're breaking up again, really bad. So let's just call it a day, and we'll see you back here next week, Tuesday. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for checking in, and we'll talk to you later. Say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.